Do you ever find yourself overwhelmed with too much data and just want a glimpse or a sample? Well, today, we're delving into a method that does precisely that. It's TakeMethod. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how to effortlessly grab just the right amount of data from any collection, be it a long list, an array, or even files in a folder. Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you'll master this method, making your RPA tasks more efficient and streamlined. Let's dive right in. The take method serves dual purposes in LINQ. Firstly, it can retrieve a specific number of initial elements from the start of a sequence. Alternatively, it can fetch a particular range of elements from that sequence. So, this method offers two overloads. The first uses an integer parameter, dictating the number of elements to extract from the sequence's onset. The second utilizes a range, pinpointing the exact elements to retrieve, such as the second through the fifth elements. A range can be defined in Visual Basic as following. New range with a start and end index. Let's check the following example to understand both overloads better. I have the following string array. Suppose I want to retrieve the first three elements from the array. To do that, I will use the first overload of take method in this way. As you can see, I only use the array variable with the method. I only entered the count of the elements I want to retrieve. The result here will be the following sequence, that contains the first three elements from the array. This is how does the first overload work. Let's check the second overload. Suppose I want to retrieve the following elements from the array. As you can see, these elements are not at the beginning of the sequence, therefore I have to define a range. First you have to know that the index is 0-based. This means, the first element inside the array has the index 0, the second one has index 1, and so on. Let's now define a range to return these elements. The first element I want to retrieve is the third element, which has the index 2. And I want to retrieve all elements until the fifth element, which has the index 4. So, the start index will be 2 and the end index will be 5, not 4, because the last index will not be in the result. Keep that in mind. The last entered index will not be in the result. The range can be defined as following. The result of this query will be the following sequence, that contains these three elements. This is also how to use the second overload of take method. The output sequences of both overloads in the example are of type 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗀. To convert these sequences into arrays, the toArray method is employed. The take method is versatile, compatible with query, method, or mixed syntax. It doesn't require a lambda expression, just an integer or a range. One last thing about this method. Consider a scenario where we attempt to retrieve the first 10 elements from the array, but it contains only 7 elements. The result will consist solely of the available 7 elements. Notably, if you specify a number exceeding the element count or an unavailable index, no exception will arise. However, if the sequence contains no elements, an argument null exception will be triggered. That's all about the method. Now, let's delve into examples showcasing the method's application in varied contexts. Let's start with the first example. We have a list of integers containing the following numbers. Now, let's dissect this LINQ query to understand its behavior. The query begins with from clause. This initializes a loop, where each item in my list will be represented by the variable n, one by one. Next, the where clause filters our list. Only numbers greater than 5 will be considered for the subsequent steps. The select clause doesn't transform the data. It simply means, we're taking the numbers as they are, without any additional computation or transformation. Now, we come to the take method. This extracts the first 3 numbers from our selected numbers. Finally, the toList method is called. This converts our result into a list of integers. In summary, from our original list, the query filters numbers greater than 5, selects the first 3 of them, and then produces a list containing these numbers. And there we have it. Our final output from the query is this list. As you can see, I used the take method after the query. Now I will use the method inside the query as following. Let's delve into this new LINQ query to comprehend its operations. The first part is the initialization. Here I use the take method with the data source directly. The take method extracts the first 3 numbers from our list. So, in subsequent steps, we're only considering these 3 numbers. Next, the where clause filters these 3 numbers. Only numbers greater than 5 will pass through to the next stages. The select end clause follows. As before, it merely means we're taking the numbers as is, without any modification. Lastly, the toList method converts our result into a list of integers. In essence, from our original list, the query first selects the initial 3 numbers, then filters those greater than 5, and finally outputs a list with the selected numbers. Conclusively, our final output from the query is this list. So, we've explored 2 queries. At first glance, they might seem similar due to their use of the take method. But their placement within the query leads to contrasting results. So, what's the crux of the difference? It's all about the sequence of operations. In the first query, we filter all the numbers and then take a subset. In the second, we first take a subset and then apply the filter. Understanding this distinction is crucial. Depending on where you place methods like take, you can drastically change the output of your LINQ queries. Always ensure your sequence of operations aligns with the desired outcome. Let's now check another example about retrieving files from a folder. This query retrieves the 5 oldest files from a folder, by sorting them in ascending order based on their last write time. The result is an array of file info representing the 5 earliest files in that directory. I've employed the take method's first overload, using an integer parameter. This query is written in mixed syntax. The same query can be written as following in method syntax. The result will be exact the same. To obtain the 5 most recent files, simply alter the sort order to descending. This adjustment will then showcase the newest 5 files in the folder. Let's check another example about DataTable. Suppose I want to retrieve the first 2 rows from a data table, my table. I can do that as following. Only the data source with take method. Copy to DataTable is used to convert the output sequence to DataTable. So, we can use take method with any data type we have to retrieve a specific amount of data. In the upcoming videos we will use this method with other methods and clauses. That's all about take method for now.